If you weighed the entire mass of land animals, 96% of that mass is either humans or the animals we eat. 4% of the mass of land animals are wildlife.
Wow. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Love, Loss, and Hallucinations. My guest this week, I've known him for a couple years. Super interesting human being. I'm super happy that we were able to work this out. We had some technical difficulties before coming together here on Zoom instead of my usual platform. But we got through it, and here we are now. And just a heads up, I am getting over a little bit of a cold, so if I'm coughing or sniffling a little bit, that is why. I'm almost there, though. Almost out of the woods, people. So, without further ado, my guest this week is John Steward. And John is the co-founder, executive director, and board director of Wild Tomorrow Fund. And I guess, John, we'll just jump right in because it's an amazing story. And I think, you can just briefly touch on where in the world Wild Tomorrow Fund is focused, and we'll get more into that for sure. And then how you came to start Wild Tomorrow Fund.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. It's such a pleasure to be on your podcast. So Wild Tomorrow, we are a wildlife conservation organization, and we are protecting threatened and endangered wildlife and the habitats that they call home. We have a primary project, and that is in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and it's this really, really beautiful place of the planet. It is in one of Earth's 36 biodiversity hotspots, and we are creating a wildlife corridor.
Yeah, and I think, I just want to add here that with the themes of this podcast, Love, Loss, and Hallucinations, as I often say, I like to give them as broad definition and however they come up and apply as possible. And for this one, people might be like, conservation, what does that have to do with love, loss? And yet it is everything to do with it, because I feel it's, love of, and certainly correct me if this is, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but, love of the land, love of the animals, love of the earth, and, the loss of biodiversity and habitat and all of those sorts of things. And, there might be a little stretch for the hallucination part that we might get to, but we'll see how that...
Scott, not at all. I hope that your listeners will feel that my hallucination reflects on some of the things that they're feeling.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, since we're there, let's just start there. I mean, what hallucination did you or are you feeling that they might relate to?
Yeah, well, maybe if I back up and tell you a little bit about why Wild Tomorrow exists. And
that's a good idea.
So in 2012, I was an advertising executive. I was in New York, which is where I am right now, even though our project is in South Africa. I follow the money, and I stayed in New York.
Now, were you full Mad Men during that time? Is that all
full,
just right there?
I mean, if you take away the debauchery and just add in longer hours, yes, I was a madman. And I was at the top of my game. I was a executive creative director and working on everything from Volvo cars to Pampers to Hershey's chocolate. And I was bored. I just something that I kept asking myself, and I was about 40 at the time. And I think that question is common with people about my age, which is, what will you leave behind? What is the point? And I wasn't feeling the desire that so many of my colleagues were feeling for advertising. So I decided to step away. I asked my company, could I take a month off? And I went to start my journey, and I decided to volunteer. And I knew it was going to be with animals. Animals have always been my passion. And I knew nothing.
Can I just jump in, wondering, is there a specific, early memory where you're just this love of animals sort of was born?
There was a moment that I think about often. So my parents let us have a cat. And my mum used to go to this farm to get her groceries. And my mum would often see these cats around the farm. And she asked, could we perhaps have one of the kittens? And the lady said, absolutely. We do have a female that's just given birth, and she led us. I was with my mom, and I was probably 6. She led us to this barn, and if you peered over this edge, you could see all these little kittens. And I couldn't leave. I did not want to leave. Just wanted to stare at them, and it was not far from my home. So at every possible moment, can I go see the kittens? We had to wait 6 to 8 weeks, I think it is, before we were allowed a kitten. But I just wanted more. I could not get enough of staring at these animals. So I think that was my first memory of love for animals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. And is that where I'm sorry, is it England?
That's
home?
right.
Yeah. Okay. That was in England. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Back to 2012, like advertising isn't doing it for you. You go to volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I find on Google this organization that is in South Africa. I think there was still a part of me that wanted to impress. So if it was in New Jersey, perhaps I wasn't so interested, like just the fact that I could say, I'm off to Africa,
Had a bigger ring than crossing the tunnel.
I don't think my cleansing had got very far at that point. But I found myself in South Africa working for an organization called Wildlife Act, ACT. And they would use volunteers, international volunteers, to come and help with their work. And we would pay to come and volunteer.
Yeah.
And my job as a volunteer was to ride with the monitors with a telemetry aerial and find wild dogs. And a couple of the wild dogs had radio collars. And the reason that we needed to find these wild dogs twice a day, every day, rain or shine, was because there were so few left. And there were 6,000 left in the world. Wow. So we would go and find them, beep, 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 beep. We'd get closer and closer, often driving for 4 or 5 hours. And then we would count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many were in the pack? What are they looking? Are they looking like they're satisfied? Does it look like they've eaten today? If any of those things were questionable, especially if we couldn't find one, then we would notify the park, and they would come and they would make an attempt to find that dog, because more than likely it had been caught in a snare that had been left by people to catch anything that comes along. And they were just so threatened that it was worth the time, money, and effort to see if we could protect it. And the reason that they are so threatened is the reason that wildlife around the world, including 1 million species facing extinction, are at risk, and that's habitat loss.
Yeah.
And I learned that. Yeah. But this month was so important to me. It changed my life. So to your first, I love the theme of your podcast. The first word, love. I fell in love every day. I fell in love time and time again every day. I fell in love with that caterpillar that we stopped to have a look at. I fell in love with the lion. I fell in love with the tree. And it was like nothing else that I'd ever experienced. But to your second word, loss, the tragedy was that my heart was broken as soon as I fell in love, because everything that I was looking at was under stress. It was struggling. So it's like finding, we I had no honeymoon period with these animals. I didn't have this, few months of laying in bed and now let's talk about relationships. I had to go straight to relationship. It's like, I feel responsible. And actually that was a wake up call or a hard thing to realize that I personally was part of the reason
Mm,
that these new loves of my life were struggling, because I was part of the human species.
right.
I was part of the system that was causing these animals to be forced to live in smaller and smaller and smaller areas.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and that's, I mean, I feel like so many of us have that feeling. And then to see it firsthand, obviously, really is where you just have to do something, it sounds like.
I did. I couldn't, as they say, not see it. And I went back to my job in New York in advertising, and it really had gone at that point. Any feeling I had left for the buying a watch whenever I wanted, or that car that I
Yeah.
drove, it just felt so meaningless. And I began this journey of I couldn't work for that organization as much as I wanted to, because they were my reason for being there.
Mhm.
Uh, but I went back 3 summers in a row and made contacts, and it was
Mm.
somebody that said, "You should start your own. You feel this strongly, just start your own." And at this time, I'd met my beautiful wife, Wendy, and she was going through a similar life change.
Yeah.
She was in banking. She was a very successful um, banker that had worked in Asia and now in New York. And um, I think that's what drove us so closely together. And we said, do we do this? Do we walk away? Do we just change our lives completely
Yeah.
and yeah, make the shift?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we said,
that's a big step, a lot of that you're losing, quote unquote, of the traditional, what everyone's taught they should be going after, right? Money and status and all that good stuff. And to have to lose that and walk away. Well, I imagine must have been easy, a little easier that you two were kind of doing it together. So you had each other to lean on. But um, what was it? What was your first reaction when someone was like, you just need to start your own?
uh, it was mostly, I know nothing about running a charity, but there was a part of me that said, you've been successful in everything that you're passionate about.
Mm,
I bet you can do this. And you know how to pitch something coming from advertising. Um, Hopefully I'm likable to many people, so they will listen.
you are likable, John. Yes.
They will listen to what I have to say. And and then I had Wendy, and Wendy,
Mm,
who I hope you have as a guest someday, is just a dynamo. So that gave us the confidence to do it, even though we really had to learn from books.
yeah. Learn on the fly too, I imagine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and something you said right there just has me curious because Tiffany and I started the record label Bright Antenna Records without any background in music, and we were just passionate about it. It's a very similar thing, but there were surprising things from our previous occupations that sort of carried through. So I'm wondering, like, besides being able to pitch an idea, was there anything else from like advertising that has helped you that you were kind of surprised about? You're like, oh, I didn't see that coming in handy.
Sure. I still do most of the marketing.
Mm,
I was trained as a graphic designer before I became a more general advertising executive. And actually, more of my work now sees the light of day than any time I was in advertising, because
That's
95,
amazing.
95% of what I did in advertising just got put in the trash.
Mm,
Whether it was because the client changed their mind or because there was a different idea, and that's fine. That's the
yeah.
creative process.
Yeah.
But now it's way more efficient. I'll run it by the team and say, is this saying what we want it to say? And that did help going out of the gate with a logo that looked professional, with a website that looked professional. I feel that many charities, they start off on the back foot because it's expensive to do marketing, and perhaps they'll try it themselves, and it'll always look like your cousin did it, or your granny had the best intentions, but it just doesn't give donors confidence. And then with Wendy, her financial background was very helpful because that is not my skill.
That is a good match. You got the creative and the financial and logistical. Yeah. So by spending time in South Africa, that's kind of where you zeroed in on or found this area that needed extra help, or what was the first step and kind of what was your focus to get it off the ground, I guess?
Yeah, we started to help wildlife rangers, because that was what there was a moment while I was on my first trip with this other organization, and we were driving on the back of a truck, and I was feeling pretty cool. I wasn't a tourist. I was one of the crew.
In the dirt. Yep.
Yeah, it just felt good. I didn't go to college for it, but here I was. And we would always pass the rangers, and these guys are serious. They look like they're in the army. They have rifles, and they are there to protect wildlife, specifically rhinos and elephants, from poachers. And they would drive past us, them in their Jeep truck, us in ours. And I noticed that I hadn't seen them in a few days. And I asked our guy in charge, and I said, "Where are the rangers? They just started to wave their hands at us. I felt like I was breaking through." And he said, "Oh, I've heard that they've just gone through their last set of tires. And there's no budget to get more. So until they figure it out, they're not patrolling." And I got just so angry. I was like, that is ridiculous. And I remember patting my pocket of my trousers and said, "Look, I have the money. Let's go. Let's get them out there. They have to get out there." And
getting chills, just feeling that. And it's so simple and so easy, and yet it's just finance, a lack of finances and being able to do it. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And while it wasn't that simple, because any money given to them had to be reported, and it had to go into this. The moment wasn't lost on the person that I was telling it to, and myself. And he said, "Look, let's go talk to the wildlife manager. Let's go find out what he needs." And I remember we went to see him, and I said, "I'm thinking how I can help. What can I do?" And he said, "Don't give me money." And I was like, he said, "If you give me money, I have to report it, and they'll probably never come back to me." He said, "If you can give me the object, I can then use that object."
Wow.
And that stayed with me. And that's how Wild Tomorrow began. We said, we will aid wildlife through supporting these government parks that don't have the budget to protect their wildlife. We will literally, we get $50 from my mum and my dad to begin with, and from my ex-coworker. $50 will go buy a pair of boots. The pair of boots will be delivered to that person. Take a picture. Lovely. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And
what year was that again?
That was 2015.
2015. Okay.
Yeah. And Wendy and I were so excited. We raised about $40,000 in our first year, and we were helping rangers with whatever they wanted. It was really unsexy stuff. It wasn't the drone, because the drone will break and nobody's there to fix it. Or it wasn't even computers, because they wouldn't be able to get tech support. It was a pair of boots. It was a pair of socks. It was a water pump. It was a filter. It was all that stuff that kind of gets looked over by,
Yeah.
and we weren't in it for ourselves. We didn't need, we didn't need the drone to make ourselves feel better. You want socks? We'll get you socks. And then what we call a land emergency happened.
Mm.
And while I was out with Wendy, we were there visiting. One of our partners said, "We'd love for you to come and look at this piece of land," and it was close to where he lived. And we went to visit, and he told us this story, and he said, "Look around you, all around." And to me, it looked wild. He said, "It's up for sale." And those pineapple farmers that you passed all along the way with these monoculture acres and acres? They've got bids on it. And if they're successful, then they'll get 2 tractors with the chain in the middle and everything just goes. And we took a tour. There was a beautiful river. There was a little bit of wildlife, but not a lot. It had been farmland once. I think about 30 years it had been left fallow. So it had trees and it had animals that had found their way back. And we said, well, we'd love to help, but we're not your guys. We're raising $50. How much is this?
Yeah.
And he said it was 1.3 million US.
Wow.
And
wow.
we're like, yeah. And we were 1 year in, from barely knowing how to create a spreadsheet for donations, and but we couldn't let it go. Wendy and I, we got on the plane back to New York, and I knew she was thinking what I was thinking, is that we got to try. We've got to try it. We cannot let this happen. We landed in New York, and we just hit the pavements. Quite quickly, I was able to create just this few pages of paper that explained.
Yeah.
And one person led to another. It was a different type of person that we were asking. Maybe they knew somebody in their network that wasn't perhaps able to give us $20. We explained it's going to be a lot of money. And over the course of, I think it was about 2 months, because I asked the seller of the land, I said, "You have these pineapple bids. Please don't give us 3 months. Don't
3 months. 3 months to raise $1.3 million, basically."
Yeah. And she said, "That's fine." And so we were up against it, and met a wonderful family, and this gentleman that he could see something in us, and he believed in the project. And he said, "Look, I'm not going to give you all this money, but I believe in what you're doing, and I believe in this project. How about, would you accept me as your chairman of the board, and we'll tackle this?" And we're like, "Yes, please." No, there was no accepting. Absolutely. And that was the beginning of our change. We were able to strike a deal with the lady where she gave us an interest-free loan for 5 years. We put about a third down. But quite quickly, we realized that this piece of land wasn't just a piece of land. I mentioned wildlife corridors. So a wildlife corridor, it's a stretch of wild space that connects on either side 2 existing large wilderness areas. And the reason that a wildlife corridor is so important is that it's quite economical. You can protect a relatively small portion of land, but allow animals to then take on a lot of their original patterns. So migration, swapping genes, moving if there's fire, moving if there's a disease outbreak, all of those natural processes that they were once able to do, as opposed to having these spaces.
It sort of reminds me of like here in the States, and I know other places in the world now, they're either building under freeways or over freeways, just that short corridor, natural corridor for the animals to pass through to get to the other side of the road. This is on a much larger scale, of course, but I don't know. That's just what came to mind. So for anyone out there who's kind of trying to envision it, it's that on a land scale.
Well, that's exactly what it is, Scott. It is exactly the same process where you allow wildlife that has been fragmented, wild spaces that have been fragmented, to now suddenly, pass and go into much larger areas. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we realized that we could connect, we were sitting right in between two wild areas.
Mm.
If we were patient and we went to all these different landowners around us and we stitched together these contiguous pieces, one day we would be able to get from one side of this original wild place to another. And that's what we've been working on since 2019, which was our first purchase. And we've done it.
I know you've made like 5 different land purchases, and that has jigsawed it together. Is that correct?
I think we're up to 10 now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So my research is behind.
It's probably our website. No, I'm talking about. Everyone is a different owner. Everyone wants to play hard with you. That goes into negotiations. We have lawyers. We have accountants. We go back and forth on contracts. Then once we get the land, we have to restore it. So that is removing any invasive plants, removing any old farming equipment, making sure there is enough biofuel for the wildlife to exist.
Yeah.
And then we'll drop the fence with the piece that we already saved on that side. And we just keep going down the line.
That must just be such an amazing feeling when you get to, it's such a simple thing, dropping the fence, but like so much work has gone up to that fence coming down that it just must like give you a lump in your throat every time, I would imagine.
Yes, it's the fence dropping parties, we call them.
That's awesome. So the first piece of land was bought in 2019. Is that what you said? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, and just to like kind of loop back to how I know about you guys is one of those crazy things in life, really, where Tiffany and I were at this kind of remote, hard to get to place in Southwest Colorado. And at this particular like getaway place, like they had a communal table that everyone ate together. And we happened to be sitting next to these 2 very cool, very interesting people, one of whom was from South Africa, and they were dating and they were there on a little romantic getaway. And they started telling us about Wild Tomorrow Fund, or Wild Tomorrow. And, yeah, I mean, that was Rikus and Jessica, of course. Rikus Lombard, Jessica Masters. Hi, shout out to you guys. So yeah, I just want to like throw that in there because it's like one of those things where like, as stressful as and crazy as life can be, there's like these little moments of magic that can just like lead you down these paths and places that are unexpected and like just kind of bring joy to when you reflect back on it. So, that's how we happen to be sitting here today having this podcast, which, hell, I didn't even know what a podcast was in 2018. Yeah. So
I tell you, good people, when we find each other, we stick together, right?
100%. Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, I think I was told a story that when you started Wild Tomorrow, like you guys were like in a basement in Kinko's or something, and that was like the office. And obviously, as you're saying, you've grown to this incredible organization over the last, decade, basically. Saving all this land, bringing biodiversity back in, all sorts of animals. I mean, how many acres do you think you've conserved at this point?
5,000 acres is protected under Wild Tomorrow, South Africa. Yeah.
Wow. And just as a point of reference, I think Central Park is like 840 acres. So, I mean, that's just mind boggling. And Tiffany and I keep saying, we got to get down there. And one of these days we will. I haven't made it yet. But when you and Wendy started it, were you dating at that point, or had you already been married? You were dating.
We were, yeah.
How was that like trying to start an organization and date? Was there any like, and I ask this from perspective of obviously Tiffany and I have a company together, so I know some of the at least some of our ins and outs of starting an organization together. And so I ask just for, anybody else who's out there who's either dating or married and are thinking of starting a business or a charity or what have you together, like what are things that you weren't expecting that was a good thing about being together, and maybe some things that were like, oh shit, we got to work on that.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't know any different.
Mm. Ah, right.
Uh, we are together, pretty much 24/7.
Yeah.
And uh, her passion, her love for the planet is so
Mm.
attractive to me. And I feed off that. She has enabled me to become more social.
Mm.
She has taught me not to be so timid in front of strangers through the work of the charity. So yeah, our day is the alarm goes and we're side by side in bed and we roll out and we go to quite oftentimes our dining room table and begin working. And because there's only myself and Wendy, and we have 1.5 people in New York. In South Africa, we have 50 now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're working on Wild Tomorrow, and then early evening, it'll be the two of us, and we'll decide: do we cook or should we go out? And we're talking Wild Tomorrow. And then it's bedtime. But it just works.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say it's taken the spark out, but I don't know any different. I would like to say it has made us even closer, but again, it's our relationship, and we're so compatible in that way.
Mm. Mm. That's beautiful. And yeah, I know, with Tiffany and myself, just to kind of throw it out there, is like, we are also like almost 24/7 all the time. Like her dad is like, what? How do you guys stand each other? That much. And it helps that we really like each other and are very compatible, like you said. But, there is something like special about working and building something together. And you always know, if there's an issue that the other person has to work on, or work into the night on, like you can't like fight it because you know exactly why. And it's very understandable. And you're like, okay, well, I get it, and do your thing. And, tomorrow, whatever. So that for us has been one of the great upsides. And I'd say, one of the more challenging things is hopefully have to any of our Bright Antenna employees who want to chime in on this in the comments can let us know. But there used to be times at the office where people, I think, were like, is this about Bright Antenna or is there something else going on here between them, that they brought from home? So that's been a learning curve for us, to really do a better job of keeping home out of the business.
Yes, actually, now you said that, I have to catch myself sometimes if we are around and in one of our employees to not speak quite so um, sharply or
Mm.
short, while it's appropriate in a relationship when you get to know each other and say, "Oh, come on," just that tone of voice, like they don't want
Yeah.
that. I think that's what you're getting to, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I would say I've been the more often person with the tone that needs to be in check. And she's very good about telling me that. So that's good. It helps us both grow, I would say.
lovely.
um, yeah. And, I know obviously conservation and creating these land corridors has become a big focus. Well, before I get to this question, I do want to just touch on, as you've been working through this the last decade, like, how has it been to watch the wildlife come back to the land, the biodiversity that had been lost? How quickly did it come back? Was it surprising? Were you like, this is going to take forever? Like, I'm just kind of not having no experience in witnessing that firsthand. I'd love to hear that.
It has happened a lot faster than I had thought. It depends on the level of degradation when we purchase a piece. Some pieces, they had pineapples the week before we bought it. Some pieces have.
Just quickly, like, I don't know if people don't know what a pineapple farm looks like. I don't know. I assume it's the same in South Africa as it was in Hawaii when I lived there for a bit. And it is just plastic under the ground, under the dirt, and rows of pineapples, like for acres and acres and acres. So it's not an easy task to get all that out of there.
Yeah, that's right. And we never will. I see black plastic pieces in the soil. Ugh. There's nothing. We've scarred the land, I think, for quite a few thousand years with just one crop of pineapples. Not that there's anything against pineapples.
I love pineapples too, but
I am a human and I need food, and for us, it's just don't do it on the edge of a UNESCO World Heritage Site where your chemicals and your plastic is going to go into these very delicate ecosystems in an area that has been zoned as a biodiversity hotspot.
Yeah.
Hallucination.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
I think that we, as humans, are hallucinating right now. I think that we are living in this social illusion that we've chosen to create for ourselves, that is that we are separate from nature. That we and nature, we can say hi to each other over the fence, but that's good. We can do our thing. And I think that it's very comforting for us to think that destroying an ecosystem is not going to have an effect. That can just happen. Our well-being is not connected to the health of the planet. Endless growth is possible on a finite planet. We know how big the planet is. Endless growth it's just not possible. And I think that's a hallucination or something that I have also been under. And it's easier that way. That's my hallucination.
Well, that's a good one, and it's a big one. And anyone who listens to this podcast knows I 100% agree with you. But I feel, and I'm just going to propose this, even I have no basis for this whatsoever. But I do think, feel that as however many billions of people there are out there, like everybody on some level, even if no matter what your beliefs are, there's some subconscious stress that is going on in your body from everything that's happening to the environment and all the news. Like, you can ignore it, but you can't. You're still going to see it even if you choose to ignore it, and so it's still in there, like percolating around. And like, I 100% agree. We are all part of this Earth community, and we've done a good job of separating ourselves from it, as you said. So I don't know what else to say about that, except, well, yeah, here's the question then. Knowing that, and it can feel so overwhelming, and you're there on the front lines. How do you approach that? Because even during this as we've talked, you've said a couple things like, well, I love pineapples too. And even though, you sort of have a very realistic, it sounds like, approach to it. And I'm just hoping you can speak more to that for other people that are sort of feeling this duress.
Yeah. There is a word, it's solastalgia. And that is
Solastalgia.
solastalgia. And that is the feeling of grief, of loss that you feel when the wild has been destroyed.
Mm,
Another more common term is ecological grief. A lot
mm,
of people feel that, and it's uncomfortable. So they don't want to be in that place too long. So then they don't do much. Um, but it's real, and I think that's what you're feeling. Is
hmm
that ecological grief? But the good news for me is that we weren't born under this hallucination. If we use this analogy of hallucination, there's a reason why on a baby's blanket you see elephants and rhinos and
mm,
bunnies. There's a reason why there are cuddly toys that are of every animal that you can think of. There's a reason why E is for elephant. E is not for electronic device. It's because it is
yeah,
who we are.
yeah.
Society has pushed us forward. We're so impressive as a species that we've been able to just, zoom past all of those feelings that we had to have when we had to survive in the wild. But still,
hmm
we're born with it, and for one reason or another, whether it's pressure from schools or pressure from parents or pressure from the media and advertising, we lose that. We
Yeah,
drift away, and we don't need to. We don't, the fear that we feel, that is because we had to feel that to stay alive. So we didn't get eaten. The
yeah,
taste that we taste, that was so we knew if something was going to kill us. Now we use all of these emotions, fear if we feel that somebody is, not said a great thing about us, but it's all there still.
yeah.
So it's not like it can't come back. And if it's happened this quickly, it can go back the other way. Um, in terms of what the average person can do, uh, so 25 million acres of land is lost every year.
Wow.
And uh, the reason, primary reason, isn't to build a KFC or a home. It's for agriculture.
Right. Right.
So then, if we know that life on our planet, wildlife on our planet is at risk, what is the reason? It's because of habitat loss. What is the primary reason for that habitat loss? It's agriculture. Okay, but what are we eating that much lettuce, or are we eating that many almonds? And the fact is that 80% of agriculture is for the animals we eat
Yeah.
and the crops that we feed the animals that we eat. And then it suddenly becomes a very different conversation we have with people, because they're like, but I love elephants. Oh, you don't tell me what to eat. It's a
Right.
very, very, and it's a very primal feeling. Sharing food is very, very primal. Um, but if you would like to make a difference to the future of wildlife, it is to cut down on meat.
Yeah.
Um, and we
That,
are not a vegan organization. We would never. This is not our focus. But the fact is the fact that this land is being destroyed because of our insatiable appetite for meat.
yeah.
So, as Michael Grunwald, he's an author that recently wrote "We Are Eating the Earth." As he says, we get to vote 3 times a day on
Mm,
the state of the planet. So perhaps if it's 3 times a day out of 21 meals a week, if we just took one less to begin there, uh, yeah,
yeah. Just a
that,
very small, simple step where you're getting your food some other way, but skipping meat once, twice, 3 times a week can go a long way. Because, I mean, you see these graphs, and if I can find one, I'll throw it in here, but the graphs of how much resources and energy and fuel and all these things go to making your hamburger. And it's insane when you see the whole chain of, especially if the meat's coming, if you're here in America, meat's coming from, say, Brazil or something. And it's just like, wow, and how they were able to sell that for 89 cents, I have no clue. It can't be good.
One of my favorite shocking stats is it's one of those that it stays with you that you'll probably share at a cocktail party. So if you weighed the entire mass of land animals, 96% of that mass is either humans or the animals we eat. 4% of the mass of land animals are wildlife.
Wow.
And I just don't think people know that.
No. I mean, it's hard to even conceptualize that, So, out of 100 animals, 4 of them are wild. Wow. I mean,
yeah,
that's just mind-boggling. What do you do? Like, if you're in New York City, how do you get your nature fix?
Great question. I've been preaching on describing my life, and here I am living in New York. I do love New York, but it is the place where I need to be, and Wendy. So we unfortunately can't be around the giraffe very often. How do I get my nature fix? Well, because of the business I'm in, I can sit here in this exact view. And because I'm talking nature, I'm not experiencing it perhaps firsthand, but I am talking it. And I know that this animal is now safe, or I know this animal is now, I get a fix from that. I don't need to see it. We were recently in Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Wendy said, "Oh, doesn't it make you want to just see these animals every day?" And I said, "Actually, no. I just need to know they're okay. I don't need to see that animal. As long as they're fine, I don't need to keep seeing it." So there are the parks. There's the waterfront. So we do have small portions.
And you get back into Central Park. There's some good areas in there, that you can almost get away from it all. The Ramble, is that what it's called?
That's right.
Yeah, the Ramble. Yeah, that's my favorite spot in Central Park if it's light out. Since we're talking about losses, and I had this one question that popped up into my head: habitat loss, biodiversity, that sort of thing. And I know you guys do also a lot of work with the community there, and which I think is a beautiful example of, how you can bring it back to tying people back into the environment and it be mutually supportive with the Green Mambas, which is an all women's ranger force or environmental force, both of those, helping to clean up the land and, keep the animals safe. In that area where you guys are focused, were there losses and effects from like the cuts of USA funding getting slashed this last year and a half?
Well, so with Wild Tomorrow, very fortunately, we only had one grant that came to the US government, and it wasn't a large part of our budget. I couldn't speak to other organizations. They have mentioned it, and especially perhaps with health, with
Right.
community health. So I don't know, but it's real. It's the yeah, the administration unfortunately hasn't done that move didn't do good for the global health.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, yeah. Well, on the flip side, what is a recent success that like gave you goosebumps, made your heart like beat a couple beats faster, whether you were there in person or you just, heard it from your team down there?
Uh, so the last time I was there, we have a conservation center on. So
Mm,
quite often these pieces of land we buy, they come with structures because they were used for different purposes before. We want the land, but it comes with other things. And one portion of land that we desperately wanted had an old tourist lodge on it.
mm.
And we did not want this lodge. Who was going to run it? We're not in the business, blah, blah, blah. But the land was too important for it to go into a person's hands that would perhaps not be great for the work around us. So we did it and we purchased it. And we, as we like to say, we made lemonade from lemons. We turned it into we turned it into a conservation center
Oh, wow.
where we are now attracting researchers from around the world, volunteers, other organizations doing similar things in our area. Would you like an offer? We have space. We'll
Mm,
set up Wi-Fi. Anyway, so to answer your question, the last time I was there, we have these chalets that we're doing up where people can stay, and to save money, we decided to build some of our own furniture. We have a lot of old materials, and that shabby chic style
yeah, yeah, yeah.
would fit
Reuse,
well.
refurbish. Yeah.
And there was one of our employees, he was called Spinelli, and I really only knew him as the tractor driver, and he always big smile on his face, and I knew that he had a workshop out of the back, and um, I I asked our general manager. I said, I'm coming over, and it's a bit of a passion project, but I really want to make some furniture. Um, could I've heard that Spinelli has tools. Would he be able to help? And uh, over the course of the next 6 weeks, we became such a dynamic duo.
Mm,
And while we could speak hardly any of the same language, I speak zero Zulu, and he spoke just a little English. Uh, we put a smile on each other's faces,
mm.
and he was holding one end of the piece, and I was holding the other end of the piece of furniture, and I said, "How far I've come from, thinking I'm the shit in advertising, and now I'm, these connections. I had nothing to do with wildlife, but it did.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with wildlife because we were showing him that a good profession can be made through
Yeah.
conservation. And the same with all of our 50 people. We're majority Zulu, majority women. We're showing that there is an economy around
Mm,
conservation.
mm.
That gave me goosebumps, and I really was sad to say goodbye to him. And I'll see him in a few months, but yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. I mean, connection, community, environment, earth, it's like descending down, right? It's all connected. And um, yeah, if you have a picture of something you built, I'll like drop it in right about here so people can see. That would be cool. Or see you two guys together. That would be awesome if you have a photo or two. Um, yeah, wow. That's just amazing. I can't even speak to having watched it over the last 8 years now since we've like known you guys and supported in some ways. It's just been beautiful to watch it grow, and like just the importance you guys put on like listening to the community and involving the community, and just your care for the land and the animals it's heartwarming to know you and Wendy are out there doing the good stuff.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without support of our community here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are just we just we just said let's go for it. But everybody else that's made it possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and back to where we began with the passion you two have for it. It's just so obvious, and it's a good thing. It's a good lesson for people who might doubt if they should jump into something that they know nothing about, but they're passionate about, and just make it work. So, kudos to that. Two last little quick questions, because we already kind of hit on the hallucinations, but what is something that you have lost or had to lose in the last year or two? And this could be good or bad. Doesn't necessarily have to be a negative loss, that you've learned from.
I have to think. In the last, perhaps I can make it a bit easier on myself and think of since I've left advertising.
Okay.
I miss the team spirit of solving a project. In advertising, we each had a role to play, and we were like different instruments in a band, and you couldn't do it without the drummer, and you couldn't do it without the singer. And I miss having that collection of musicians, so to speak. We're very frugal. We, as I said, we're 3.5 people, and I miss that. I miss that feeling of, wow, look at how many people it took to do this, and that's on a daily basis. On a our team in South Africa, we do have that over there, but it's not. It's
not in person. Yeah. You've lost that in-person camaraderie and coordinated orchestra of achievement, as you said.
I think
up
so.
That term. Yeah. I can feel that. Yeah. Yeah. And then last question is, what are you loving right now and why?
I love how flexible we still are as an organization.
Yeah. It's such an important point.
Yeah.
Not getting rigid into the way things, we've always done it this way, got to keep it this way. Sorry, continue.
We went to, Wendy and I went to a sustainability pop-up market in New York. She knew some people that were involved, and there was stalls with green energy and solar and or gin that's made from more sustainable products and farming. And there was a stand where this person was showing how you can recycle plastics in a relatively small area now. These machines have got smaller and more compact, and we're like, we could start our own recycle plastics operation in South Africa for the conservation center, because
for your area. Yeah. Wow.
Because the communities, there's a lot of litter because they don't have refuse companies helping them. There's nowhere, the litter just gets blown around. So we could help there. We could make their lives more hygienic, more just pleasurable. We could employ people. Always a great thing to do. You have to employ them. And then the products that they make, they can decide what products they would like. And is there a local economy around that? Is it bricks to build houses? Is it keychains? Sorry. Is it keychains for tourists? They tell us. And that seems to be a reality. We'll probably have a recycled plastics. And that's what I love. I love how we go with opportunities, and there was no playbook. So when we started.
Oh, well, I absolutely love that. And I look forward to hearing more about the plastic recycling, which is really cool. It gives me some thoughts actually about some other things. I'm like, they could use one too. A couple other organizations that I know of. But again, John, this has been great. Great hour. And where can people find you? Where's the best place to learn about Wild Tomorrow? Places.
Yeah, thank you. Wildtomorrow.org
Okay.
is our website. And we are on Instagram, Wild Tomorrow, Facebook, Wild Tomorrow. I would love to chat with you in person. My info is on the website. I just can't wait to share our story. And
yeah. And I should point out, just since your passion was ignited on a volunteer trip, you guys now offer some trips as well. Is that correct?
we do.
Okay.
We've had volunteer trips since 2017, and you can join us. But typically, it's somebody in their mid-level professional. They're not. Basically, what I'm saying is that it's not a gap year studenty type thing. It's people that they've done Cancun, they've done so many different beautiful places. Now, perhaps they'd like to spend 2 weeks doing something a bit different. So you'll join our team on the ground in South Africa, and you'll become part of us and do stuff that we do. And that is also on the website. You can find out about our trips.
That's awesome. And I've heard, again, haven't done it yet myself. I want to so badly, but I've heard only great things about these trips. And so if any of that interested you at all, strongly encourage you to check it out. And who knows, maybe you'll go off and start your own nonprofit conservation group, which would be awesome. But John, thanks again. Give Wendy a big hug for us, and look forward to our paths crossing next time in person.
You're the best. Thank you. Love to Tiffany.
All right.